70 artists of all persuasions from all parts of the state are at the City Hall this weekend for the State Artist Conference, the first ever held in Newcastle. The theme of the conference is "The Buck Stops Here," a subject that writer and keynote speaker Frank Hardy warmed to. Hardy has always been outspoken in his criticism of the establishment and its patronage of the arts. He was thrown into jail in the 1950s for writing Power Without Glory. He says that financial support from governments is a double-edged sword because the artist will be pressured into creating something that doesn't challenge the system.
Then the first thing you have to learn is all the methods of survival, and the other thing you have to learn is that if you're going to do it, it's a hell of a way to try to make a living, and you might as well say what you mean and what you think and believe, because there's no future for you if you join the system. You have to say what you mean, and if that means you have to fight the capitalist system, then fight it.
The Cannons were simply too good for the Falcons. They were well led by the little General Phil Smythe, who flew back from the World Championships, especially for the game. He is a class above anything the home team could muster on the night. And he had some help from some fine players, none better than the Geelong import James Crawford, who destroyed the Falcons with his size, ability and determination. Of the others, Tim Morrissey was just a fraction more effective, but they are a class team and it showed. Consider that they were without their other international, Simon Cottrell, who's still overseas and who can realise their awesome power. Of the Falcons, Big Jim Moran was best, even though he was outsized by the string bean giant Andy Campbell. The effort was there, the class was not, and the Falcons must now rally for next week's trip to Homebush and the clash with the West Stars.
The Newcastle branch of the Nurses Association say they're happy with the wage increase, but are disappointed that other matters, including the introduction of a 10-hour break between shifts, are not adopted. Hunter Region Organiser Stephen Kukowski says that despite the division within the association over the result of the hearing, the Newcastle branch has made it clear which faction it supports.
There's two clear factions within the association. The response that we've had here at Royal Newcastle Hospital when I went through the claim with the members was that we got a resounding acclamation and a resolution of thanks, in particular to Pat Staunton. So I think the members are happy. Patricia Staunton particularly is happy. I think it's the other faction that perhaps aren't happy.
President of the Nurses Association in Newcastle, Ed Allison, says the wage increase and 38-hour week.
The wage claim will bring the nurses back to the public hospital system?
I think it's a great attraction for them. I think here in Newcastle in particular, where many people are thinking of going into other sorts of work like restaurants, coffee shops, market gardening, all sorts of different things, I think it'll be a great attraction for them to keep them here, the ones that are thinking now of leaving and to bring them back.
The overall response from nurses to Commissioner Wells's decision is one of relief. It now remains to be seen whether the wage rise will recruit and recall nurses back to the public hospitals. The overall response...
Managing Director of Carrington, Don Laverick, says he's adamant the Slipways will remain a viable operation. And he cites uncertainty in the shipbuilding marketplace as a major factor in the lack of orders, which has forced the retrenchments in the steel division.
The major thing, Mark, is that promises don't pay wages Thursdays, and we have a lot of promises for orders that will be placed in the next few months, but they're not concrete orders. We have sufficient orders right at the moment to keep our permanent workforce employed at half what they were 3 months ago, right through till Christmas.
Is it frustrating letting go those 100 people? Is it an easy task?
Mate, it's one of the most difficult tasks that anybody that's employed a lot of people for a long time could possibly face. The long-term prospects, Mark, are excellent. There's a lot of work there that's been promised that will be available, such as the 4th Manly Ferry, which was announced by the state government last March, probably be ordered in September. Some tugs for the Maritime Services Board, the survey motor launches for the Navy, they're all but that bit further back.
The Joint Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Affairs and Defence is the largest of the Parliament. It features members of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and of all major parties. Today, 11 members made a familiarisation visit to Williamtown as part of a series of visits to defence sites around Australia. The committee is looking at making a report to the Parliament in August next year. The main eye-catcher today was Williamtown's leading eagle, the FA-18, and the committee was certainly impressed.
Well, we think it's a very good base, very functional, and we're very pleased with everything we've heard today. It looks as if the government made the right decision in buying this particular aircraft. It seems to be excellent.
As well as viewing the awesome spectacle of the Hornet in full flight, the men also looked at a static and aerial display of other planes and at most of the base's facilities, including the flight simulator. Today's visit ties in closely with a trip to the new base at Tyndall in the Northern Territory, where a squad of FA-18s will be based. While it's too early to say what their report will recommend to the Parliament, the men did suggest that increased self-reliance of our armed forces will be one. The men shied away, though, from questions on the effect of the recent drop of our dollar on defence spending and forces.
Luckily, this purchase is already completed, so I'm glad that it took place before the fall in the dollar.
Celebrated their win today at Carrington Bowling Club. The numbers 6, 17, 19, 21, 22 and 33 are lucky for Hazel and Gordon. They're the dates of family birthdays, and 33 is the number of years they've been married. And last Wednesday night, those numbers won them nearly $600,000. But the win wasn't completely unexpected.
We went to a fortune teller a few months back, and she was of the opinion that we'd probably be a fair bit of money all around us, and we might strike something in something like Lotto or a lottery.
Another hint to their coming fortune was when one of Hazel's sisters shared in a First Division Lotto prize in March this year. Ideas of baths in champagne or round-the-world trips don't appeal as a way to spend their windfall. Instead, the Wilsons will buy another of Hazel's sisters a new home. They'll give their own home to another family member and pay off the homes of their two sons. They say their own indulgence will be to build a retirement home for themselves next door to their present house in Carrington.
I've got no ambitions to shift from Carrington. You know, I was born here and I love it here. And as I said earlier, like the residents group and the citizens over here have been battling very hard to make a better suburb, and so we'd like to keep on with that fight and really make Carrington beautiful, Carrington.
What will you do with your $576,000?
As Newcastle's new rescue helicopter touched down at District Park Base this afternoon, one crew member was heard to say, "Hallelujah." It's been a long time coming since the decision was taken in 1984 to buy a rescue helicopter for the Hunter region. Since then, a succession of leased machines have filled the gap, until in March the service decided to buy this helicopter, a 1982 model Bell Long Ranger, which was used as an air ambulance in Victoria. It was fitted out with the best in rescue equipment and painted with the logos of sponsors Westpac, 2HD, NBN and the New South Wales Coal Association. The trip from Melbourne was held up for 3 days this week by wild and wet weather in Victoria. At this stage, the helicopter has cost $570,000, $435,000 of which was raised by public donation. However, Operations Manager John Skeen says the service still needs public help.
We figure approximately $100,000 to $120,000 per annum. That helps us pay for the loan that we've had to get from Westpac to help pay for the machine outright, and it also helps with the maintenance and the ongoing costs of routine operations of a helicopter.
Mock rescues are being staged more often these days because they are recognised as being important to the effectiveness of emergency services. In this case, the scenario was uncomfortably real. In the early hours of the morning, a tourist bus collides head-on with a loaded petrol tanker on a back road in the Cessnock area. The force of the impact has pushed the bus over a cliff, injuring most of the 28 passengers on board. All available emergency services, including the local SES unit, the Volunteer Rescue Squad and the Bush Fire Brigade, work in the difficult conditions to move the injured to medical care. Despite being a simulated rescue, it has all the urgency of the real thing.
Everyone's taken it very seriously because in a region such as this, where we're a very popular tourist area, and as you probably know, there are a lot of tourist vehicles and buses and the like visit this area, mostly at weekends, but also through the week.
Taylor was dismissed after this incident involving South Newcastle lock
Oh,
forward
there's
Gary
a
Phelps.
nice high one.
Lakes has already lost star forwards Mark Brockenshire and Colin Mathias for the season, and there's just 2 games to go. The next one with Western Suburbs, and it's a minor title decider, and then the semi-finals. The Judiciary probably has Lakes United's fate in its hands. The NBN Carlton ladder has Lakes United now just 1 point clear of Western Suburbs. Cessnock are next, but not certain yet of finishing in the top 3. Then South Newcastle, that is certain though of a semi-final position. With Curry, Central Charlestown and Macquarie United all able to finish in 5th spot. The Newcastle Rugby League Judiciary came to its decision after hearing evidence and viewing this incident on tape from Saturday's match with South Newcastle. The Lions lock forward Barry Phelps, playing wide of the scrum at this time, was left unconscious, but is now reported as okay.
Last night's grand final of the Model for Life competition at the Newcastle Workers Club. Top entertainers like Jackie Love and the Tony Bartuccio dancers vied for the limelight with 38 models competing in categories for children, teenagers and adults. Among the judges were Kerry-Ann Kennelly from Good Morning Australia, Tiffany Lamb from Perfect Match and Miss Australia Maria Ridley. The winners in each category received prizes including a photographic portfolio and modelling courses.
Number 15, Vanessa. And the winner is in the adult section, number 36, Ian Robinson.
Christy enjoys netball and tennis and would very much like to be a professional model.
Today, Brian Lowton was able to see firsthand the progress of work on the new continuous bloomcaster, and he was also shown through the Pacific Colliery at Teralba, one of the company's most productive mines. Brian Lowton says BHP's Newcastle investments continue to prove a valuable part of the company's operations, despite some rationalisation in the steel industry.
Of course, it depends a great deal on the performance of the Newcastle investments and particularly the steelworks. But we're confident that the work that we have in train is going to yield constructive results, provided we get the support and continuing cooperation of all those involved.
Are you concerned there might be job losses at the Newcastle steelworks because of the introduction of the bloomcaster and other high technology?
We have to face the fact that there will be less jobs progressively. Now, we will manage the reduction in workforce as best we can, and I believe that we're doing well in that regard so far, and we're certainly talking to all the people concerned. But we have to look at the job security and the opportunities for those who remain in the industry.
There's been a record profit for BHP, and there has been also some criticism that that profit hasn't been shared among the rank and file.
Now, I don't think it's right to say that the people in the industry have not shared in the prosperity of the industry. They have and are. What we all have to recognise, though, is that if this industry is going to continue and to prosper, we have to be competitive with other suppliers in this region and the rest of the world, and we have to get our costs down.
Figures released in June show an increase in raw steel production, but a decline in the sale of steel products. But according to Brian Lowton, the slump in the marketplace can be overcome by BHP's increasing competitiveness.
The Department of Public Works is the construction authority for the project. Architect Lindsay Kelly has designed two major buildings, the Ward Block and Services Block, which run parallel to each other following the contours of the site. The hospital will accommodate 494 beds. In its teaching role, it will be the academic base for medicine, surgery, obstetrics, paediatrics and pathology, as well as high-tech medical services such as intensive and coronary care. The new hospital is being built behind the existing complex on this site here at Rankin Park. Work on the car parking facilities and access roads is well underway, while construction of the main buildings is expected to start later this year. It's 4 years since the Olsen report first recommended that a new teaching hospital be built in Newcastle, while the establishment of a medical school at Newcastle University further highlighted the need for hospital training facilities. Mrs Deirdre Brucevan, the Assistant Minister for Health and, coincidentally, the sister of Public Works Minister Laurie Brereton, commends the speed with which the project has reached construction stage.
The government's most pleased to see that it's only taken till September 1986 for us to be finally at the stage of tenders having been called and the project ready to go ahead.
Now, it's a very large budget, almost $147 million. Where's that money coming from?
It's coming out of the state budget allocation for capital funding.
Elizabeth Dixon, brutally stabbed and beaten to death in a car near Ashtonfield in April 1982. Stacey Lee Kirk, found raped and murdered at the Maitland Showground in 1983. and the shooting murder of liquor store proprietor Gordon Leggett at his Tyres Hill shop last year. In an effort to clear these and other unsolved murders in the state, head of the New South Wales CIB, Chief Superintendent Bob Bradbury, has assigned extra police and renewed rewards for information leading to an arrest. Detective Sergeant John Wilson from the Homicide Squad in Sydney will help local detectives in their investigations into the 3 murders. And, according to Mr Bradbury, the extra manpower and ongoing rewards may lead to solving 3 of the region's most baffling cases.
A mask competition was an exciting way to display the variety of uses for rainbow recycling materials, according to Publicity Officer Sandra Tate, and a very visual way to celebrate rainbow recycling's first birthday. The judging panel of 3, led by Newcastle artist Jeff Nance, commended the colourful and imaginative entries which made use of twines, packing materials, paper wastes and other industrial offcuts. This sunny mask with a rather Pinocchio-like nose was chosen as the winning entry in the Senior Schools division. Among junior school entries, this cute creation took first prize, and Raymond Terrace artist Kerry Sutherland won the adult section with this delicate but dramatic mask. Dick Brugman, a noted Newcastle mask maker, loaned a series of masks he's working on for the Matara Festival to the display. Like the others, these masks are made entirely from recycled materials. The interest and enthusiasm expressed for the competition has prompted the organisers to consider turning it into an annual event.
Same type of material. Yes.
Meet Claude, a saltwater crocodile who was the big attraction at Jesmond shopping centre last night. Claude and his smaller companions were brought to the shopping centre by Terra Australis Productions. The company has been quick to cash in on the public's fascination for the fierce reptiles, sparked not only by the recent attacks, but also by the phenomenal success of the movie Crocodile Dundee. And it's easy to understand the fascination. Saltwater crocs have been recorded at more than 6 metres in length. They can close their jaws with a force of up to half a tonne, and even little Claude could take your hand off. So Mum and Dad, if the children ask for one as a pet, say no.